was a bright, sunny day in Rio de Janeiro, and the iconic beaches were overrun with the young and healthy that for generations made such beaches iconic. Naturally, not all visitors were the free spirits for whom playful spontaneity with a fellow free spirit made life worth living. One Anita Ellsberg was perhaps the only individual on that particular beach that morning with her shoulders covered, among other things. She was an uptight, cerebral professional here on business. By occupation, Ellsberg was an ethnographic looking for a deepening understanding of the Afro-Brazilian community in Rio. It so happens that one particularly special lady, samba dancer by profession, was keen to give visitors such an understanding that they would never forget. Ellsberg physically bumped into this dancer, and no trace of rage was visible in her vacant, awe-shaken eyes. The ethnographic began conversing with this particular free spirit and eventually convinced her to engage in an interview under one condition, that it occur during a massage. The dancer also had special skills as a masseuse as well. Later that afternoon, Ellsberg arrived in the mysterious woman's massage parlor. It was a colorful place with particularly unusual odors. The room had been booked with a ceramic table atop an indoor stream. The mysterious samba dancer/masseuse entered with her hands excitedly up and outstretched and a wide grin on her face. She clapped and ordered Anita's chest first onto the massage table. The ocular room soon flooded with steam that only made the mysterious scents more potent. The masseuse, who finally identified herself as Lola, proceeded to grab some fluid containers from the shelf and began to apply them to Anita's back. She stated that, before Anita could understand Lola, Lola needed to understand Anita. Some samba music began playing, as Lola began to rub the fluids into Anita's back. She felt a tremendous feeling of ticklish sensitivity to her skin all of a sudden that caused her to giggle and breathe with greater intensity. As she spoke, "You will now learn about the people," said Lola in an almost seductive tone in Brazilian Portuguese, as Lola continued to apply the creams and oils, and as Anita continued to talk, she felt increasingly strange. She almost felt like her head was half underwater and half in a dream. Her flesh felt not only highly sensitive but increasingly thick and jello-like. Her eyes were clenched shut as the thrilling sensations continued across her body. Soon, her vocalizations became increasingly odd. For starters, her lips felt plumper, making it feel funny to talk. Also, her voice became deeper and ever breathier. Most importantly, the uptight, cerebral professional found the Portuguese language flow increasingly naturally, like the water running below her. Recollecting details about her life that Lola asked her about became increasingly blurry, and details seemed to conflict with new ones, all while the ticklish sensations of her ballooning flesh in Lola's hands made it difficult to focus. Meanwhile, she was developing new muscles suitable for tasks involving more physical activity, as her fat continued to swell in all the right places. Eventually, all knowledge of English seemed to disappear from Anna's fluffy head, and increasingly wild, fun and, indeed, crude details came to mind in her self-recollection. Lola grinningly removed her hands from Anna, but the continued samba music now seemed to take over in its effects on her body. Anna was now the archetypical Afro-Brazilian babe, having internalized all the sociological knowledge necessary for understanding that demographic in the most direct way imaginable. She grew up on the edge of poverty and combined the spontaneous friendliness and vibrancy with a certain class pride in a lack of education and anti-intellectualism. She certainly would no longer feel the anxiety associated with getting a master's degree now. In fact, Anna decided in high school that there were better things for an attractive girl to do and fiddle with her feather head. Corporeal activities, like dancing with her now highly fertile figure, were so much more fun than cerebral ones like abstract analysis. Anna finally looked up from the table and smiled at her reflection in the watery stream below. Lacking a certain self-consciousness, she now embraced Lola and suggested they could find the steamier situation after their performance tonight.